Welcome to Expedient Means with Lin A. Wei on Time Monk Radio. Lin currently resides in China and is the founder and head teacher of Guaizhen Philocultural Society. His extensive experience in Buddhist and Taoist meditation, Qigong, martial arts, and traditional Chinese medicine. To learn more about Lin, please visit his website at www.guizhenhui.net. Tonight, Lin will be speaking about understanding adversity. Welcome, Lin.
Hey, how you doing?
So understanding diversity. I'm just kidding.
Transforming it too.
I'm just kidding. Understanding adversity. So.
And how to transform it too.
And transforming it.
That's right.
Okay, so well, there's obviously many types of adversity. Where did you want to start?
Well, we're going to start basically with our own particular views. I mean, adversity can be you have a happy thought, and then something just makes your happy thought turn into frustration. That's adverse. Something that just is opposite of what you're doing. It's a relative opposite. So it's the yin and the yang, right? So we'll go into the inner problems, which is our views, how we see the world, and how our views basically influence us within our interactions with other people, and especially ourselves. Some people just have arguments with themselves all the times. So they basically, cause problems for themselves more so than others. There was a quote. I don't remember who the author was, but they said something about, it goes to a roundabout idea of they experienced so much problems, but then it was all in his head. There's something about how he was able to experience the world's problems or experience a hell of a lot of problems. Of course, he's an author, right? So he has to go through all of these diabolical things. And then the end of the quote was just something like, but it was all self-made. It was all I did it all to myself. But you can take that and realize that everything that we face in the world is basically from our own mind. I mean, from the car going through the red light, or a bird flying past your face, our views about these things that happen are what basically influence the way we're going to interact with everyone else and everything else.
Yeah, again, it boils down to your views, right? So if you can take something that, well, the old saying goes, take lemons and make lemonade, right? You can take your adversity and just depending on your views of what your condition is, you can either use that as a positive or a negative experience.
Right. I mean, we'll get severe situations in our lives, really traumatic or emotionally deep and severe problems, and usually you want to change what we'll call the bad circumstances for better, but that's really difficult for a lot of people. I mean, even the little simple annoyances can just blow your top off. You got to change those what we'll call vices, become a better person. These things are a little difficult. So, when we're looking at changing views, we got to understand why is it that we have to change views in order to transform what we experience. It's not that the conditions that are occurring are going to change. A brick falling from a rooftop is still going to be a brick falling from a rooftop. It's not going to transform into a dove and fly away before it hits your head. It doesn't mean that kind of transforming, but it means how you're going to react. Basically, with that, the conditions that are around us are always going to be the way they are, but how we impose our own ideas about these things will be how we are going to live with our mind or live with the experience. For example, again, maybe I don't want to change the baby's diaper today, and I'm annoyed by having to constantly change the diaper. Let's just say, I mean, I like changing diapers actually, but in general, let's say you just get annoyed with that. You still got to change the diapers regardless. The fact is, how you change your views about that situation. A job can be monotonous and boring, but we still are doing it. Now, we can change our job, but we're still going to be in a position at some point later on that we're still going to be doing the things that our job requires, which will be every single day doing the same things because that's what the job requires. So how we place views upon what we're doing or the conditions laid before us is going to you know, equal the experience that we're going to live with.
Yeah, so in the case of changing the diaper, you just take it and look at it as an act of love and bonding with your child, right?
You can do that too, right? I mean, we can take a situation, take the views of the situation that we take the views we place on a situation, sorry, and just add a different view to it. But the fact is that we got to look at the source or the root problem. The root problem would be, why do we have to place views on something in the first place? That means we still hold views of a good and a bad, or a pleasant and unpleasant. So we can go off on the peripheral and change the view about it constantly, or we can actually go to the root cause of why we feel we need to make up a view of something so we can deal with what we're experiencing.
That's cutting right to the root of the problem.
Basically, and it's kind of like, whoa, that was a shortcut right there, and it literally is. Instead of climbing the bamboo all the way to the top to get out on the top, chew right through it. It's likened to that. You want to just cut right to the chase, and it's hard to figure that out because we go through the monotony every day, and it becomes a habit of developing views so naturally that we don't even think that there is a root cause for us adding views on top of views. So it becomes very difficult to find these things. But yes, find why do I need to put these things? Why do I have to put a head on top of a head on top of a head? Or why do I have to just, it's freezing outside, you put on a sweater, you're warm, but you just keep putting on a sweater. Just keep putting on sweaters. I don't like this color. Instead of taking the sweater off, I'm changing the sweater, you add more on top of each other. But then it becomes heavy and hot, and you probably, get a heat stroke or you pass out. For us, it becomes the stress in general. If we took away our views, we'll just have the conditions. And you're just experiencing the conditions. Conditions are not pleasant and they're not unpleasant.
So it seems people obviously only want to change their views when they perceive things as unpleasant.
Yes.
Something's nice or feels good, they don't generally want to detach their views from it.
Oh, totally. They don't want to break the cycle of having to make views because they don't think that that is actually the thing. They think, oh, I just got to change my mind. You can change your mind, but that's not changing the root cause of why the mind is being that way. That's where we want to go to.
So what's the trick?
Well, changing the views. Let's work on this one way first. For those who want to go through this gradually or generally, just beginning or whatever the case is, we're going to go off on the peripheral, which is changing views. Changing the clothes or just adding clothes on top of themselves. Actually, changing one's views. It begins with the recognizing of one's habitual reactions towards that which moves their mind. Once there's a recognition of these types of habitual responses, one should or must investigate the mind to find the origin of such habit. Then investigate the function of that habit and its results when utilized. Basically, when you use that habit, what were the results? When you were using them, what were you getting out of it? Then afterwards, one may realize if its function resulted in something wholesome or unwholesome. On that type of wise discrimination, we'll call it, the habitual view, can be put down accordingly. Accordingly means you just want to let it go. So let's put it in more simpler terms. You want to question yourself, why is this the way it is? Like, why do I make this thing the way I make it?
So
I don't like. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking of, how you could change your views and flip them from one to another. I mean, that exercise alone, that if you started there, you said I could perceive this as good or I could perceive it as bad. That should tell you right there that the fact that you can flip your views from one to another means that there's probably something more going on.
Well, yeah, we actually flip views every moment, all the time. We're doing this like clockwork. So normal, and I'm not going to say natural, because if we're going to talk into nature, then I just directly talk to that which is not what people consider nature. things that you cannot find the origin to, people call nature. Sexual desire, um, egotism, habits of like emotional attachments, and all this, and the way behavior is on a great scale uh, in the human world. They'll call these things natural, but in truth, this is not natural; it's conditioned. But we're going to talk normal. It's normal because it becomes a habit. That's why it's normal. So many people do it, or you're taught not how to do it, but you're taught to move through things and change your ideas about it without actually being told you are going to change your ideas on this to make it more better. No. Oh, your parents would probably tell you, you don't like this. Well, you got to deal with it. And you figure, how do I deal with it? Oh, let me just ignore it, be indifferent, or I don't want to deal with it. I'll be angry about it. And then for the rest of your life, you have a hang up about specific things. Okay. So we're going to look at the method of simply just changing your clothes. I'll call it that way, changing the mind. And it's simply just ask yourself, why do I put on a view about this specific thing? Because I don't like this or I don't like that, so I have to deal with this situation all the time, so I might as well just make myself believe it's okay. Sure. And you do that very simple. You just see what you're facing and you just tell yourself, okay, I have to deal with it. That's just the way it is. And you go about it. You go on with it throughout the day. It's really so simple. And everyone's like, yeah, I do this all the time. And it's quite easy because it's the normal way. It's a simple way. And then
But
we got to go deeper.
well, again, I was just going to bring up, and I think we brought it up before, but um, some people may think that if you don't have views one way or another, you just walk through life sort of like a bland person, an emotionless person, I guess you could say.
It's still views though. When we are just going through life emotionless, you're not really emotionless. You still conceive of pain, you still conceive of a happiness, but you're just not applying the concept of those things into your daily life when you're socializing with people. Um, you're not just a lump on a log, just passing by, standing around. I mean, you don't want to go emotionless. Generally, you don't want to be indifferent emotional wise, because that's not going to work. Emotions, on one hand, um, they're they're not going to give you anything better than what they already are. Happiness is just simple happiness. You're not going to get some great enlightened wisdom or anything like that from just experiencing happiness and all the pleasant stuff. But you don't want to entertain the negative stuff because that's going to really change your vibration and bring you down even further. Entertaining the positive stuff is not going to hurt you, but it's not going to bring you really up there.
Okay, that's kind of a good way to look at it. I never thought of it that way.
Hmm. I mean, if you just sit on your chair slumped over, people can try this exercise. Slouched over, you sit on your chair. Now, don't slouch where your head hits your knees. It's ridiculous. But I mean, just your spine is slouched over, crunched down, your head is dropped down, and think happy thoughts and try to really embody the happy thoughts. It takes a little bit of effort. It may take a little bit of effort. Some people have a stronger mind and can just feel extremely giddy and happy when they're all slouched over and in a pretzel position or something. Um, but in general, when you sit up straight and you have good posture and you think of a positive thing, you really feel the emphasis of the positive thing very quickly. Your mood can change a little bit faster, but not when you're undergoing some serious, heavy emotional drama. Then sitting up straight or slouched over, it has no difference. You're still going to feel like crap. you know. Uh, so we want to get to the root of why we have to make things the way they are. Okay, now that's taking the first section of being the simple aspect or the simple method of just changing the peripheral, but then we're going to apply this to go deeper. Why on earth do I feel I need to make a view about what I experience? That's the question. And if we can investigate that, we'll get along very, very, very easier in our daily life. people go to work, do the same thing every day. You don't have to sit there going, oh, so friggin' boring. I hate my job, I hate my life, or I enjoy my job, I enjoy my life. Either or, well, I have these views. That's just something you have to do because you chose to do it. See, things are done because we choose to do it. They're not things we have to do. We can choose to not have to do the things we see in front of us that catch our eye or that make sense to us. But we
I,
feel a pull. We feel attracted to it. We know that's the thing that's going to get us what we're looking for. So we do it.
I
So the
think,
having to do is just because of that.
well, for me, I think it's as a mindfulness practice, I find it easier to capture the more difficult things. If you start feeling resentment again or anger, like those, to me, those emotions are so negatively strong. They influence me a certain way that it's easier for me to recognize them when they arise. Whereas happiness or something, I generally don't investigate that all that much. I just let that go.
It's fine. I mean, we can go on one half of the spectrum here, and just focus on the quote unquote the suffering that we'll experience throughout the day. And I mean, from the minor boredom to the major frustrations and crazy stresses and serial killing thoughts that we may, encounter throughout our day. Let's focus on those because those are more prominent in most people's minds. Frustration, stress, anger, boredom. These things are in people's minds most of the day. For example, I got people who ask me, don't you get bored doing the same thing every day? I say, I've been doing the same thing every day since I'm 8 years old. Like, I question myself, should I be bored? And it just doesn't make sense. But here, I go to work. My work is teaching, so I sit in my office when I don't have to teach. Sure, most people feel like it's boring. Just sit at your desk all day, look at the computer. I'm writing, writing books, articles, or doing something, keeping active. So they're like, oh, all right, well, you're keeping active. But if you didn't have those activities, you're actually going to sit down. Well, instead of having to struggle with my mind, just sitting there blank at a desk and going and twiddling my thumbs, I get up, I walk around, I find things to do, not to keep me blocked from feeling anything, bored or stuff like that, but I keep myself in a position where I can be focused on what is in my mind so I don't have to trail off and create views about my experiences. And then it just becomes a natural thing or a normal thing, a habitual thing where you sit there going, okay, well, I don't have to do any work. I don't have to do any writing right now because I'm not choosing to do that. I don't even have to go for a walk, but sitting down isn't going to be healthy for my body now, is it? All day long. So,
I just thought of a story a video I'd seen. I think it's from the Western Australian Buddhist Center. I can't remember the exact name of the speaker, but he was telling a story about how some of his friends would get deathly ill, and he'd go visit them in the hospital or whatever, and he said that when they had these illnesses or whatever adversity they would encounter, they were generally much more humble, kinder people, and then he said some of them would end up coming through this crisis, and then they'd turn into egoistic jerks again.
they never cut the root cause of their creation of views in that aspect. I mean, the same thing. Why I don't go out and actually do healing on people, where it's energetic healing or acupuncture or taina on people, because they don't want to change the habits that brought them to the place in that first place. They came to me, and then I help them fix everything up. But then, if they go accordingly to the instructions, within a week or depending on how the severity of the case, they'll be fine. And then, months later down the line, oh, this hurts again, or that hurts again, or this wasn't fixed. It's like, no, it was, but what are you doing in the meantime? And then, their habits come back again. So I'm not going to bother with this stuff anymore. Because people don't want to fix the root cause. They just want the peripheral, I feel a headache, let me take an aspirin and get the headache down, but they don't realize that they have some other problems going on.
So is it okay for people to desire, say, healing to get out of a medical situation or something like that, or should they, use that as a learning experience, right? I mean, obviously that must be their karma, and I would assume that it's there to teach them a lesson of some sort.
Well, that's a very good question because people struggle with this principle of this is just your karma. You got to deal with it, and then people are like, well, I want to get better. You know, I don't want to attach to being to having the thought of getting better. But now, what do I do? They're in conflict. You want to do both. Your physical body is treasure. Don't Many are mistaken that Buddhists disregard the physical body. Actually, it's not that at all. Your body is hard to come by, so you got to do both. You want to the desire itself, just that thing itself, can be used for bad and good. So why not use it for the good? You know, I don't want to be sick anymore. So you do things that make you better. You desire to be better, so you do that. Then you can go out and do other great things in the world. You know, whether it's socially in the immediate proximity of your life, or if it's worldwide, globally. That's good.
As an
That's a good
example,
use of desire.
Master Jun Yun, with his, I think he was deathly ill at the moment just before I don't know about deathly ill, but he was very sick, and just before he achieved enlightenment, when he dropped the cup of tea, right, he was so sick he burned himself and dropped the cup, which shattered. So that, that had, what some people may have looked at as an adversity, and you could probably tell the story better than I could, but that adversity became for him, a catalyst for enlightenment, whereas most people would have looked at that as a negative thing.
Right. Well, everything that happens, whether we label it as a good or bad, is neither good or bad. It's just something that's happening. For example, I'm pouring water into a bottle, and I pour it too fast, and the water doesn't overflow, but it spills out, like the pressure of the water going down comes out of the bottle, and it burns onto my hand. It falls onto my hand, and it burns. And I sit there looking at it, going, "Oh." My wife goes, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's just really funny." Over years, I've found the cause of why we react, or why I had reacted in the past to having scalding hot water poured on my arm or my hand by accident, and going, "Oh my God," and cursing up a storm, and having that split-second reaction of surprise. And now it's okay, the body reacts in the cringing manner, but that doesn't mean my mind has to. And therefore, the cringing manner fades faster than usual. I mean, it happens all the time when I go to Porti. We have a big hot water machine out here at the office, and I put the hot water on, and it comes down so fast. And I have a small little teapot. It's about 2.5 a tall teapot, and the water just fills it so fast that it spills all the time. Regardless if I do it slow, and my students passing by look at me and they go, "What are you doing?" I say, "I'm opening it up slow so I don't burn my hand." And they go, "Oh, okay." And no matter what state, what place I move the handle, it still spills out. Like, I think, "Oh, it's gonna go slower now," and it just spits out a little bit, and then all of a sudden, and I just go, "Oh," there it goes. Like I'm waiting for it to burn my hand. I want to drink my tea, so I just take the burning finger. Without fail. Anywho, it's just like that. We just put views on top of conditions when the conditions are just the way they are. It goes back to the profound and mundane talk we had before. Things are just the way they are. We're the ones that make it more. And now we go back into this method of how to alleviate or transform our views on what we consider adverse situations. And it's really simple. Like we said before, when it goes into the basic or peripheral change is just, okay, I'm just going to change the way I think about things and just go along my day. That's fine. And then you can go deeper and ask, why do I choose, or why do I feel I need to actually make a view about this? I mean, what have I experienced in the past about this kind of situation? Was it my situation, or was it other people's commentaries about their situation? Did I overhear people talking, or did I have conversations with people who don't like what they do, or face certain situations in their life that they consider to be sad or depressing, or create anger in their life? And then when I face similar situations, or what I think or equate to as a similar situation as they had, Did I make views about it as they did? Am I just a recording, just a carbon copy, just, playing back other people's thoughts? So we got to find out, is it ours? Did we actually make these views, or did we acquire them over time because we just kept seeing them around us? Repetition. We see it all the time, hear it all the time, experience that feeling all the time, and then we just make up a view. Now we're going to the root, which is better. Because when you go to the root, you realize a lot of faces you put up, a lot of heads you created or you put up. And now you're starting to chop them down.
This sort of reminds me of a story, and I don't know if you're familiar with it. I think it was a Zen master, but again, I don't recall the name. A student went up to visit him and wanted him to teach him Buddhism or teach him Zen. And the master said, well, I'll teach you, but before I do, I want you to go down and take this huge piece of wood, and I want you to carve a statue of the Buddha. So he's all excited, I'm going to carve this statue. I'm going to do a great job. He's going to be so impressed with me, and, he's all happy. So he carves the statue, brings it back to the master, and he says, I actually wanted a slightly smaller statue than that. Could you whittle it down a little bit more? So then he's all, upset. He has to ruin his carving, and he's kind of ticked off and angry, and he makes it. So then he brings it back to the master, and he says, actually, I think I need one a little smaller. So then for the third time, he kind of just went down, took his time, was mindful about what he was doing, and carved a beautiful statue and brought it back. But that kind of, again, goes to this same way of holding views. The first time it was excitement, the second time it was anger, and then by the time he eliminated those two, he got to that state of pure being and carved it properly, I guess.
Or carved it. He just carved it. Either way, the guy wanted a statue,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
That was the thing. He just carved it. Whatever we're thrown in our life, we take it for that. Don't take it for what you assume, or what you. Basically, that's it. What you had assumed the situation should be, or could be. And that's just putting expectations, which is just more views. Why do I feel I need to have these expectations? What am I greedy for? So it goes back to these three, what we'll call in Buddhism, the three poisons of greed, anger, and ignorance. If you want to go into something that sounds a little bit less nice, just say stupidity, but it just means ignorance, really. You're greedy for something. You're greedy for some type of a pleasant outcome, some praise, or some type of comfort. And we create views based on that. When we don't get it, we get angry. And then if we don't we don't pull the reins on the horse of our mind, we'll do ignorant things in order to try to get what we wanted or get some type of gratification. Somehow we feel like we lost something, so we got to get that something back. And then we do crazy things or, upside down things. Either way, it's the greed. I mean, we can bring this down into the sexual manner where a couple is together and the woman chooses, she doesn't want to have sex. And then the guy's just like, I want to, and gets angry with the person. And it's like, oh, why don't you want to have sex? Why don't you want to do this? Oh, I can't deal with you this way. I need to have sex in my relationship. This relationship isn't, fruitful, or it's not, what's the word? Just exciting. We need more romance or something. That's greed. Who said a relationship has to have those things in order to have two people be together? People said it had to be that way because they wanted something. They wanted to feel the gratification of being with another person, or the person they're with. And it really is that's just the way a person feels. It's not,
You're quite a romantic, Lynn.
Ha 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 ha! Very funny. And personally, it's really not a big issue with me. It took many years to get to that point when I recognized the greed for sexual experiences as a teenager. I was in conflict. I was like, I didn't recognize it as a greed. I just said, why do I feel taken or controlled by this feeling? I don't want to be controlled by something that is without origin. It doesn't have a base. It's not, is it natural to feel this way? And everyone's like, oh, it's so natural. Sex is natural and all that. And feeling a sexual desire is natural. It's human nature. And I'm sitting there going, really? So I just investigated. And when it hit me, it was like, it's not human nature to have this desire for sex. It's conditioned greed. to emphasize the quote unquote need for this type of gratification. What is being gratified? So I really I went through further aspects of these things. When I found one type of answer, I went further. Why is it this type of answer? Where does this come from? And go further, further, further into my own mind.
Would,
And then it just didn't make sense how the wanting for sex or the desire for this kind of feeling um, is not right and not wrong, but quote unquote okay. I mean, it's not going to get you anywhere higher in the state of cultivation. It's just going to drain you out, drain your essence out, and lessen your vibrational state. Unless you're doing cultivation practices while you're having sex, then you really do need to cut the root of desire for it anyway. Because once you have that desire and you go, "Oh, this feels so good," you just got locked into that emotion, into that view.
so
So,
would you say the desire itself is not unnatural? It's just, being taken by it all the time. And I guess if you let your mind be taken by it too often, would that be?
desire itself can be utilized for good and can be utilized for bad, just like any condition out there. The experience of desire, for sexual desire, if we're talking about that, okay, usually gets perverted, not meaning like perverts, but I mean perverted in the sense of taken for granted and utilized for one's own specific benefit or one's own specific gratification. So it turns into a greed. So then the desire turns into a uh, a bad method for practice.
Okay.
So we are looking to change or transform adversity, and it's really that you're transforming your own views by finding the root cause of them. That's how you transform adversity. Because a person punching you in the face is just a person punching you in the face. You add on the anger, the hatred, resentment, and the wanting for revenge. Doesn't mean go and let people punch you in the face, okay? It's like, okay, well, just go, hey, everyone punch me in the face. I mean, you can do that if you're totally practicing for patience and you want to cultivate patience and the detachment of a self. Those are very extreme aesthetic means. When I say extreme, it doesn't mean bad. It just means they're very in-depth, very intense methods. Maitreya Buddha practiced that method as well in his incarnation as Mila Buddha, Mila Pho in China, as the cloth bag monk, where it would be he would let people spit on him, kick him, dogs pee on him. It's like you spit on my face. It was part of a song he wrote. Not much of a song where you can go singing in the street, but it was stanzas. He wrote stanzas, and the whole thing I don't remember. It was a little bit long, but one of them stood out the most is you can spit on my face and I'll just let it dry in the sun.
Hmm.
And he was cultivating, showing people patience. He was being the example of what patience is. Now, is it okay for that to be that way? Sure. Is it not okay for that to be that way? Sure. It depends on how you feel you need to take it. It doesn't mean the way you feel is actually the right way. It just means that's the views you've had before about these situations. Meaning, you're not going to go in the street, someone has an argument with you, and you get punched in the face, and you smile and go, oh, okay, great. I'll see you later. You're probably going to get out of the way, punch the guy in the face first, or get punched and then punch him back, and it's go back and forth until one of you is on the concrete bleeding out his face. It's just going to be done that way because most people can't sit there and take a punch. They feel their ego has been hurt, which goes to the fuse of self.
Maybe you're teaching him a lesson, though.
Who knows? I had once when I was 14, a guy came and three other guys came and threatened me, saying if they see me in a specific place, they're going to beat me down. I said, well, you see me here now. I mean, I'm not in the place you told me I was supposed to be in, or a place you don't want me to be in, but I'm here now. Why don't you just go for it? So they took out bats out of their car. And I looked at them and I smiled. I had my hands behind my back and I just smiled and a little arrogant, but not really, because what I was doing was I was sucking in their energy and then I was projecting it right back out to them, being a mirror. I was projecting all that negative anger and whatnot back to them with compassion, with the feeling of, you're such a pitiful person for you to actually be in this kind of state of mind, you know? And I
It,
just sent this compassionate feeling out. And my intention at that time was, um, you are going to have what you give me because we're not different from each other. So they sat there banging the bats in their hands, saying, "Oh, I'm going to kick your butt," and all anger and cursing and whatever. And I was just smiling. I said, "Look, man, you're wasting my time. Either you're going to do it now or you're going to do it later. So what's it going to be?" And he said, "If I see you again, I'm going to kick your ass." "Oh, okay, great. I'll be at the park. I'll be in the place you don't want me to be tomorrow around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll hope to see you there." um, you know, a day goes by, nobody. A second day, third day goes by, nobody. But actually, no, on the third day, if I remember correctly, they pass by in the car. They see me. They wave to me, like they're saying hi. I don't know if they're saying, "Oh, we're gonna get you later," ha ha ha. I don't know. But it turned out they ended up going back to jail. They were just got out of jail about a week and saw me. They actually misunderstood the situation. They saw me with a family member of theirs, and they thought that something was going on. And there's no reason to prove anything to you. There's nothing's going on. So whatever you want to do is totally fine. You know. In the case, they went back to jail. I mean, it was just a simple case of the situation was this way. These were the conditions. How do I want to look at it? Do I want to tell them, "Go F yourself," make the situation worse, add more fire to the situation, or do I just go and, "Oh, sure, whatever, whenever you're ready, go ahead." Because inside I felt a peace, an emptiness there that just said, there is no me that these people are arguing to.
it was more in their own mind. You were just something they were sort of projecting it at, right?
Basically, the rain falls and it just falls on all the trees. It doesn't fall on one part of the tree and the other part of the tree is dry. It just falls on the whole tree. So the tree is just like, okay, go ahead, whatever you want. you know,
It's
that's the,
still would this is a view, but it still would have sucked if they would have smacked you with the bat.
if they did, I still would have raised my hands and protected myself. Not because I don't want people to go and hit my body or hit me or my ego or whatever. But at that time, the view I had or the state of mind I was in was they're swinging at something, but I still don't know what they're swinging at. So the bat's flying into my face. I'm not going to be there. you know, whether they would have succeeded or not, I wouldn't know because it didn't really get to that point. But I really truly felt at that time that there was no way in hell these people would actually beat me down. I believed that I was projecting back to them what they were projecting at me because they were able to send these emotions towards me with their mind, with their actions and behavior. Obviously, I could send it right back, but I'm going to send it back with ice cream, and sprinkles. And it worked. And when I went upstairs, people of the family members of that person, called me and says, "You got to be careful. The guy's crazy." I said, yeah, sure, no problem. Look, I have my ways of handling it, and I'll take care of it. And they're like, "What do you mean? Are you gonna find them and do?" I say, no, no, no. And I was like, you have your ways of doing your magic, and I have my own, and I'll do it my way. And if it doesn't work, well, then I guess we'll have to do it the more mundane way. And it turned out that that's just the way it was. So you see, the adverse situation, I could have emphasized it and seen the, "Oh, poor me, I'm having a fight with three guys who have bats in their hands ready to knock my head off over something they're, confused about." Or, okay, there's just three guys who want to bash my head in with a bat, whether here or tomorrow. Let me just, give it back, whatever they're sending out, and let them know that it's okay. Like, there's no difference between two people. Overall, we are of the same source. So let me send that kind of acknowledgement to them, and hopefully, I don't get my head bashed in.
Did you know? Was that before you knew Wing Chun?
Yeah. I was 14 years old. I learned Wing Chun when I was 19.
Okay.
I was about 13 or 14 this time, but I already had cultivated these methods, of mind investigation, energy work and stuff since 8 years old. So I had practice and I had experience using it on people to influence situations for my benefit. And my benefit was the benefit for other people. So really, it wasn't my benefit.
By
But
by
it worked for my
helping by helping yourself, you help them.
basically, if they bashed my head in, I know for a fact if they succeeded at that, if I died or got hurt or hospitalized, there would be a really big problem. I mean, it would be a really big problem. I mean, it doesn't matter what the authorities would do. I mean, just the state that would happen, that would manifest, would be really bad. Not because it's me and some magical thing is going to happen. No. At that time, my father was a very, 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 very fiery guy, and he would make things happen that would not be very pleasant for a lot of people. Especially if I made the problem, he would be like, "Well, you made your bed, not lie in it." But if it wasn't my problem, like I didn't cause it, then he would take a stance if I couldn't handle it. Anywho, it's the changing of things, and it's the changing of your mind that makes what you experience different. It is just the conditions that are being manifested in front of you, but our mind adds clothes to it, adds color, adds emotion, and adds thoughts. We usually end up believing what we project on everything else. That should help us to question ourselves. It's not the thing that's giving me this feeling. It's myself projecting this feeling on everything else. No one can actually give you hatred. No one can actually give you anger or frustration. Nothing you do as an activity can make you feel a specific way. Only you can make that thing make you feel that way. It's just the way it is.
You should talk to my ex-wife. That was a bad joke. Well, actually, I say that, but I do. She's a great tool for cultivation. Put it that way.
A lot of people will not accept that. What I was just saying, they will not accept that because it makes you have to take responsibility for yourself and your own mind. And a lot of people cannot handle that, so they project it on everyone else. Like I would love to give examples of myself, but we'll be here for a long time with my situation on that. But in general, when you have an argument with somebody, or you have a discussion with someone, and they're just bringing it to an argument level, and you're calm and cool, they're getting more angry. They're getting angrier. And the reason why they're getting angry is because you're not entertaining. You're not sucking in what they're projecting at you and anchoring it in your mind. You're not reacting to that. You're not indifferent or ignoring. There's no cause in your body that says, "Oh, this resonates with me. I'm going to be angry and react." Whatever they're projecting, they're seeing now. They're not seeing you're intermingling with what they're projecting, so they can try to find things that they can pick off on you to fight you back. They don't feel like they're in defense. They feel like they're in offense. So when they receive what they're giving out, they think it's you. And they're constantly in offense. That's why they seem relentless. So when they're offensive, they're not thinking, wait a second, this guy actually is not doing anything. He's not saying anything that should make me angry. They're not thinking, it must be me sending it out and it's, coming right back to me. Because that's really what this is all about. We send out, we project out. We focus on something and we change the vibration of that something. Doesn't mean we change the vibration of a flower pot and it turns into a toaster. It means we change the vibration of what is around us with our mind because of the views. Think of emotions as a crystal, and they just emphasize our thoughts. And our thoughts are the catalyst for the emotion. You have a thought, you'll have a feeling. You have a feeling, you'll have thoughts about that feeling. They are one and the same. People want to argue emotions are different from thoughts. It feels that way because you can feel emotion, but you can't feel thoughts. But a thought has a vibrational level, and that vibrational level is what people pick up on. So that's an emotion.
Sorry, yeah, that's I can speak from experience on that. I've been through a lot of those situations. I don't want to give specific examples, but
yeah, I understand. I've been through them too. relationship wise as well. And that's the hardest thing, because you want to tell the person, it's really not this way. You're making it this way. And then there's like, oh, those are just excuses. You're making up excuses so you don't have to face the reality of what you're doing. It's like, actually, this is what I'm doing. But the person will end up seeing what you do um, in an adverse way, a way that's opposite for them or adverse to them, because they want something. They have views. They're attached to their views. They're locked in. They don't think that they're the ones projecting specific things out there, and your reaction to them is zero. And they think, oh, you're not involved enough. You're not emotional enough. You don't care enough. When it's like, actually, if I did care, we would probably have a bigger problem.
You'd just be throwing gasoline on the fire.
There you go. You know. So, capping this type of conversation, this whole type of lecture tonight, it's strictly that if we want to change the extreme sufferings that we personally experience, whether it's with the person next to us or just in general, what we see in the world and the feelings we have, or from our job or whatever, it's you can go one level and just change the way you think about it, but that doesn't change the source, the core, or the root cause of why you have to think. Then you go the second way and you go, I want to find out why I have to make views about this thing, why I feel bored. Why do I choose to have to feel bored? I mean, it's just me doing whatever I have to do. It's not going to be any other way. And then we can start going deeper into the things we've created over the years we've been around, finding out who gave us these thoughts, or where do we see this specific view, and why do we feel we have to attach to those views? Why do we feel these types of views are the right way? What certifies them to be the right way, or why do I think it is certified to be the right way to think? When I was growing up, people thought I was nuts, and people used to say, "What do you think the ideal world is?" I was like 20. I would tell them, and they would just put a gun on the table, go on the roof, and blow your head off. It's never going to happen. You're never going to accomplish what you want to do, and you're never going to accomplish the overall vision you have for the rest of the world. I said, well, that's the world I live in. I already accomplished it. I'm living my accomplishment with me. That's all. That's my world. What I'm wanting to do, well, I'm still young. I'm still in the process of making it happen. So I'm still doing it, but on small levels. And 33 years old now, I am doing exactly what I've been wanting to do since I'm 11 years old. That's what I knew I'm supposed to be doing. Why is it something supposed to be doing? Because I felt that it resonated, and I chose that's the way it's going to be. And that's exactly how it is now.
So in terms of methods, I guess it's basically just mindfulness, right?
Yes, sir. Mindfulness and investigation. You can only investigate when you have a question. Okay, you can't just go, ooh. It doesn't work. You got to go, what? You got to ask the whys, the W's. Who is this, blah, blah, blah. What is it, blah, blah, blah. Why is blah, blah, blah. When was this, blah, blah, blah. Where, blah, blah, blah. And how. So you got to investigate your mind, and it all comes down to investigating the mind. If we're going to change anything in the world, start with you, because that's the world. Okay, that's the world. You only experience the world, and that world is basically your mind, and that's it. Whatever comes into your awareness, that's your world. Whether it's something in Africa, something in Europe, China, Russia, America, wherever you are in the world, and you see something on the opposite side of the world, now it's in your world. So investigate your mind and find the root cause of what makes you move your mind. Creating views, entertaining emotion, thoughts. Okay, find these things. That is a big step. And it's a very difficult step. You can spend 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, whatever. You can spend a long time investigating your mind. It's endless. But you'll come to a point where it comes to an end. Because every time you investigate, you find something, you want to go deeper. You got to keep going until you can't find anything anymore. And at that point, you just go into the state of investigating. Then you'll know what to do. Because there's something really good that happens. Maybe it's good. I don't know. All I can tell you is that when you get to a point where you can't find anything, drop the you, drop the finding, and just put yourself in the state of investigation. With no discriminating thoughts, there's more. And it's really, 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 really a good thing.
All right, sounds like a piece of cake.
Sure. Well, if we just go back to the sexual desire thing, and people have views about sexual desire, some people are totally disgusted by sex, and some people are totally enamored by it, and gotta have 5 million girlfriends while they're married and have like 5 children. You know, and, and for me, it took me when I started recognizing this stuff around 16, 17 years old. I think by the time I was in my late 20s, which is only several years ago, um, it finally hit me on how to grasp the hold on the desires and the thoughts about sexual desire, and finally was able to break through certain aspects of the mind, so or viewpoints where I could find the origins of why I have specific views, which led to why I have certain feelings about certain things. Then I was able to just chop things out of the way. So it took a good maybe 11 years of investigation. Remember, I'm not a monk, so it was about 11, 12 years. If I was just not secluded, but in the state of cultivation as intensely as I would when I would go to do my meditation throughout the morning and evening, it probably have been a lot faster. Not saying all monks can do that. Some monks, they leave the home life, but they take the home life with them. And they still have the home life viewpoints. They never broke through those desires and views and never got to the root. Not all, but many. So monks are just, they're still human. They're not Buddhas just because they left the home life. They didn't awaken. Many maybe have not awakened yet. Just because they leave the home life doesn't mean they're special, but it does mean that they're taking the step to clean away their mind so they can help other people do that too. So yeah, by the time I was in my late 20s, I finally broke through, and even up to this point, it's like dusting the mirror now. Oh, I see, there it goes, just dust it away. It comes and goes, the feelings, the thoughts, but it's not like it's a tidal wave. It's minor little waves on the ocean now. Yeah, it's a little peek, peek into my mind.
All right, well, on that note, I think we'll call it a wrap for today, Len. And
Oh, Kayla?
wanted to thank you for joining us as usual.
Ah, no problem. My pleasure.
And why don't we quote the final chapter of the Tao Te Ching?
Why not? I mean, it's just, something we do all the time, monotonous. It's so damn boring, man. Change it up. Change it up.
All right.
Thank
we'll
you for listening. Quote the chapter of the Tao Te Ching. Holy crap! Thank you. Have a good night. That's how we should end it. Because really, what Lao Tzu is saying throughout the whole 81 chapters is like, what's wrong with you? Crap. And it's like, okay, wake up. We should do a show on investigating the Tao Te Ching, like breaking some of the chapters down, picking some chapters here and there, and start doing a little verbal commentary on these things. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
All right, so to quote the final chapter of the Tao Te Ching, the sage does not accumulate. The more he assists others, the more he possesses. The more he gives to others, the more he gains. And be sure to join us next week when we discuss the process of ending rebirth in one lifetime.
That would be great. And we will again say the same quote of the Tao Te Ching.
Nope, I'm going to say something different.
No, wait. Oh, I know what he's going to say. At the end of the verse, he's going to go, ha ha! That's it.
Maybe.
Add 2 laughs.
It'll be a surprise ending. We'll leave it at that.
Ah, wonderful, wonderful. You're going to quote something from a Superman movie, aren't you?
Maybe. Anyway, thanks again, Len.
Thank you. Bye-bye.